Book of Common Prayer. Do you use it in your church? I don't know if that was on from before because I scheduled it before. Book of Common Prayer. Oh, I'm echoing myself. Got to turn the sound off. Hearing myself, that was a bit of a shock there. So I don't know if that was a comment before. I don't know if Rose is still with us. But it's a good question. Book of Common Prayer. We use it, as I always say, on a Sunday morning at 8 a.m. We are using it. So always 12 hours. I was just thinking it's 12 hours ago that we just started our Book of Common Prayer service. So we'll see how many people say yes and no. At the moment, I can only see no. So I think I saw someone say yes. Don't know what's going on there. But welcome once again to the live stream, live with Rev Dan. Faithful questions. Ask questions. See if we can get answers. Chat amongst yourself. And join the community as we get through. There's a good chat going on already. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. I think, I'm seeing, actually, it's not saying on my poll at the moment, it's not saying, it's just, I can just see no, not the yes, but 71% say no. Wow, that's 75% say no. Wow. 78% say no. Wow. Well, maybe Rose is right. We need to get a campaign to get the Book of Common Prayer. I can't click it, unfortunately, on my own poll. But I will say yes. So we can do the math on that. So I spoke to some young men this morning who were in church and said about the Book of Common Prayer service, and I think they're going to come and try it next week. They came to our 9:30 common worship service, and I said, come along, I think you'll like it. We don't have any hymns, of course, but the language is older, but it's a really beautiful service. So we'll see what they'll come to think. So, but it's a good way to start, isn't it? Book of Common Prayer. I wonder how many people have the books themselves, or they got rid of the books, the little books. I wonder do you have them in church? So that's it. Maybe the next question: if you don't do the service, do you still have the books? Is there potential? Because if you don't have the books, then it's going to be harder to do the service, really. Or you can print off it yourself, I suppose. So, John Clark, good to hear you'll finally get rid of a respiratory infection. That's good news. Lots of illness going around at the moment. But Mr. Baker said he visited some historic Anglican churches in Norfolk this weekend, and there were a lot of BCPs about. Here's a funny story. When I was a curate, and we had two churches where I was serving, a bigger church and a small little hamlet church, and we were doing the BCP communion service, and it was my first service. What was interesting, it was like this thick, because they had the BCP book in there, but they also had like a hymn book in there as well, so it was doubly thick. Anyway, it's quite cumbersome because it's still a really small size. And so he asked me to do the prayers, and I wanted to make a good impression. I wanted to read well and things like that. The thing is, what I didn't do, because I got there and was saying hello to everybody and things like that, meeting them for the first time, is I didn't read the prayers. So naturally, and this is back in 2015, as I read the prayers, not really getting Book of Common Prayer, I prayed for the royal family, which included the Queen Mother at the time, who had died quite a few years before. So I always had the Mickey out of me that, this new young curate has come in and he's praying for the dead. So it's like, oh. So always check what version your BCP book is, because there will be a lot with the, there'll be still some out there catching young curates out with praying for the Queen Mother, let alone the Queen. God bless them. So, Miss Becky, good evening, Rev Dan, Pans, and the man himself, good evening. Cassida Advance UK, I think, isn't that a political party, a new political party on there? I think it is. I think I've heard of something. Karen, good evening, Rev Dan and everyone. Nick, some of the results may be skewed by non-Anglicans voting. Yeah, I could have been more specific. Yeah, but maybe Anglicanism was so influential that, good old Baptists had a Book of Common Prayer in there. So, but yeah, that could be right. Mr. Baker, I don't use BCP as I'm not Anglican. However, I bought 2 King James versions at Norwich Cathedral yesterday, including the Oxford Press one, including the Apocrypha. Oof. Yeah, we don't have that in our, mind you, as Anglicans we do say it's good to read, but it's not authorized, as it were. It's good to know the history of what happened in between the 2 testaments. Prony CD. How am I going to say that one? Which version is that of the Book of Common Prayer? I'll assume that's the Book of Common Prayer. We use 1662. Matt Hilst. Matt. I should just go by first names rather than using all these long names. We use Common Prayer at 9 a.m. service, but not 11. Yeah, it's always the earliest service, and usually 8 o'clock. But 9 a.m. is good. It's later, and people can get to that one, I suppose. Mr. Baker, I looked up in a BCP this weekend, and a recent reprint noted an official change to note to Camilla Windsor should be known henceforth as Queen, not Queen Consort. Yeah, I think in my little cheat sheet that I got, I don't use the book. I just use the cheat sheet as you're jumping around, and I don't think my eyesight can see the book anymore, to be honest. But yeah, we say Queen. Oh, actually, we don't use it a common communion directly. It's only evensong, that we pray the prayer for the royal family. So nothing said about her in the morning. Which, yeah. So Nick, standard Roman Missal for Mass, but personally use the Ordinariat's Divine Worship Daily Office and the St. Gregory's Prayer Book. I said this last week. It's amazing how many Anglican church you walk into, high church, and they got the Roman Missal there, and they use it. So many churches. I'm like, I remember going around and seeing all these churches and going, you're not allowed to use that. And they're like, we use it. We use it. So I was like, so why aren't you Roman Catholic then? But they liked using the Roman Catholic, the Roman Missal, but they weren't. They were still Anglo-Catholics. Matt, we have 3 being interviewed soon for our new vicar at St. James devices after a short list of 5. Oh, cool. So we spoke about that last week, and I looked at that church. I looked at the parish profile and things like that. I just got to remind myself, because if you know me, my memory is awful. So, it's, yeah. Someone's getting an ice bucket challenge on the phone, the phone thing popped up. So someone's getting an ice bucket challenge, or either the ice bucket challenge or baptized. It looks like an ice bucket challenge there. And the onion with you. Oh, okay. So that's right. So it goes from 5 people down to 3. That makes it more, that makes it a bit easier for the interview process. Having 5 people go, that's a long time for the panel to be interviewing people back to back. 3 is a lot easier. It's quite hard on the candidates, let alone the panel who've got to sit there. My interview for this role here was 3 people, and if time slips as well, you got to run it. You got to run it with all these people, getting them from A to B and getting them at the right place at the right time and leaving at the right time, and so everything runs smoothly. But let's end that poll. Oh, got something popping up on my computer. So yeah, that's good. It's good. So there you go, 16 votes. So if we take them all as Anglican, 75% no, and 25% yes. I suppose that's good. You know, if you my friend told me this, if you use the prayer book, you can join the prayer book society. You have to pay to do that, but you can say we use the prayer book, or you don't have to. We don't have to. So it's good. When are the interviews? When are the interviews? Yeah, interviews. Oh, what a process. It's really interesting when I speak to people, and because different denominations will do it slightly differently, or very differently. And people say, so how do you do it in the Church of England? And I always say it's very like a secular process. You know, you apply, you get shortlisted, you know, you do the whole application, you go for an interview day. So the only difference is that you're there with everybody else, and you find out that night usually. So yeah, it's quite and it's interesting because when you're there as a vicar, you're not competing. Because you can get into the mindset you got to outdo. It's not about outdoing it, but people do take that. people do try to do that. I've been on interviews with people trying to do the one-up thing, and it completely fails. It's like it doesn't show you in a good light, you know, and but you're trying to discern. So I've always gone saying, you know, I'm interviewing this parish just as much as they are interviewing me, because I'm discerning whether I should come here. And hopefully I won't have to do an interview for a long time. Or maybe this is my last parish. I could stay here till retirement, or I could leave parochial ministry and go off and do something else, and never have to do the interview process again. We will see. I don't know what God has got in store, but we'll see. Where did we get to? Oh, Prawn. So that's my business name. It's Russell and Valerie Clark. I'll try to remember that. I just might say Prawn as both. I'll try to remember. Richard. I grew up with a BCP in my evangelical parish in the 70s, 80s and 90s. My dad was an evangelical vicar. Friends with Alec Motya. I can't say the name. Alec Moitya, he did it. I remember reading a lot of his commentaries at theological college. And Tim Dudley Smith. They also saw BCP as the greatest defense of in evangelicalism. Oh, wow, that's interesting. That's good to know. We can't lose it really, and it should be used. You know, even if it's like midweek communion. Do you know what I do actually? When I do home communions, I don't take a home communion little sheet, because I think it's so short, and it's like we're not giving them the full service they deserve. So I take whatever book we are using on that Sunday. So we go through the whole service, and it actually doesn't take long. And then they are kind of linked to that service, because they know that the words that we are reading at that particular time is what we're reading that previous Sunday and the next Sunday. So, because I think, you know, if they weren't ill, they would be at church, but now they're at home. So let's not just go with a little card and do home communion very quickly. Let's do it properly for them. And they really appreciate it. But for some of the older folk, I started thinking, well, you know, I'm doing this common worship stuff. Why don't I do the BCP? So every so often, I take the BCP and we do the BCP communion with them. And they really love it. They really love it. So again, because they grew up with it before common worship came in. So, JKK, we had 7 folk get confirmed today, most of which were men. Very encouraging. That is really encouraging. That's good. It's good news to hear. We've been blessed with confirmations over the past couple of years, and we got some more people, I believe, who want to get confirmed. The last 2 confirmation services were in our church, and I think the people who are coming up who would want to get confirmed in our church, but we're not doing it three years in a row, so we have to try and convince them to go to another church, and that's okay. But that's good. Seven folks getting confirmed. Mr. Baker, I do that in my videos, by the way. All my cut-outs, if I don't get it right, I'll all those. There's more. You used to see sometimes when I'm trying to edit, and I go, well, 15 times I've tried to do that paragraph, 15 times, and I get it wrong. So I actually edit backwards. I start at the end and I go backwards, because then I look. You can tell by the waveforms of your voice when I say a word. Like if I started with because, it would be a B and it'd be quite a big waveform, and then I can see on each one, because I remember, oh, I got that one wrong. I always don't realize how wrong I got it. I got that wrong about 3 times. No, 18. so so I edit backwards and I just go to the start. Because, no, not that one. Because, no, not that one. Because, and then I finally, because the last one is always the right one. See, so I find it, that's right, the rest are wrong. Get rid of them. So, but sometimes, sometimes I'm on the last 2 or 3 words, and I go and fluff that last. Come on. So, but where was I? The post 1970 Roman Missal order of Mass is almost identical to the Anglican services I have witnessed, just a Hail Mary and a few other differences. Yeah, well, that's the thing. A lot of people forget we are Reformed Catholic, and so the 1662. Speaking to a friend, an Anglo-Catholic friend, and he said it's very. It's not, in a sense, throwing the baby out the bathwater when they wrote it. People would still be happy with it, I suppose, in one way or another. So, but in a lot of churches as well, the Anglo-Catholic churches, you get the Hail Mary. My friend does it after the service. They go around by one of the Marys, because there's usually a few, the big one, and do the Hail Mary. So, Matt, I spoke to someone on the panel about your question about asking what would you find out after a year in place. I'm paraphrasing you. They said that was a very important question. Absolutely. And it also protects you as well, doesn't it? Because when those things come up, you can just quite legitimately say, I did ask and you never answered. So, you weren't being honest. Well, not honest. People, they don't want to. The thing is, and it goes back to not having a one-upmanship in clergy interviews but people do. It's going back and being honest. This is who we are, and we're not perfect, and we want you to know that. But some people don't, because they think, oh, that'll pit somebody off. I think it's more open for people to say what it's like, because it's going to come out. It's going to come out, isn't it? At one point of it, you can't hide all those skeletons in the closet. Richard, I'm now in the Wesleyan Reform Union, but use BCP liturgy when I preach and kiss worship. And kiss worship. Preach and kiss worship. What's kiss worship? I don't know. Is that a typo? Or is that a type of worship? I never heard it. Mr. Becker. No Hail Marys, I meant typo. Oh, just on Hail Mary. I like how I just take what you write as a given. This is what you'll say. It must be true. Kath, good evening to you. My mouse is going slow, so I need to clean the bottom. Yusuf, when you become a parish priest, do you ever feel your work is done? No, I don't think you ever feel. I was speaking to my church warden about it. We was talking about the amount of work, and he said, do you feel overwhelmed with all that's there, because it's multifaceted? And I said, well, by the grace of God, I don't. But I was thinking last week, sustaining parish ministry for so many years, you really have to have things in place to help you, because there are so many things that can come in unexpectedly. So you can plan things. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. We've got these services coming up, and then an illness of a parishioner or a death, come and take time, or a long illness, and so you include that as well, which is emotionally draining. You can, I've gone from funerals, doing a funeral, driving straight, getting in the car and driving straight to an assembly. Yeah, and you go from one to another. Certain funerals you need time to recover, depending on the context. But sometimes you just can't. It's just the way it falls. Sometimes you're working around if the crematorium's busy, if they can get a booking at the crematorium to go, yeah, well, I've got time to do that, and then I can go to that place. But that's just part of the everyday life. But I think the work's always there, because the work's really about the gospel and discipleship and people coming to know Jesus. So I don't think you'll always feel that it's done. And I think we're always trying to set it up for the next people. It's interesting, because what I'm trying to do here is not only do the work now, I'm trying to make sure that whoever comes next, whoever comes after me, is set up really well for them to thrive, to really have a good ministry, and to not have to deal with some of the things. So I'm tackling head on some of the issues in this church, and so they don't have to. So I'm the next person after me hopefully will have a fantastic ministry here. But I don't think you'll ever feel it's done. I think you just have to set it up to pass it on. That's probably the thing. Mr. Baker, Yusuf, I'm sure on the seventh day Rev Dan doesn't rest. Rev Dan tries to get around that by saying, well, I don't do any parish work on my rest day, which is a Monday, but I will record the YouTube videos and stuff and daily devotionals, so it doesn't impact on my parish work. And that's not good. That's not good, because I should really have a complete rest day, and I have to work that out. But I got questioned before, and I think I said this years ago, questioned how much time do I spend on my YouTube when I should be working in the parish, given the fact that if you divide your day into 3, morning, afternoon and evening, and work 2 of those, I have a space to rest. So if I work morning and afternoon, I have the evening to do what I want, but I was questioned about that, so it forced me to put it mostly on my day off. Hey ho. So maybe I have to reassess that. So where are we? Richard, there's a great book from 1932 by an evangelical Canadian bishop called Dyson Haig, called Through the Prayer Book. All evangelicals should read it. It explains why the BCP is evangelical. I will search that. It's good now, because what I do is I go through the chat. That thing comes up. I highlight it and then search for it on Google, and then it's there, so I don't forget it. So I see that. What's interesting, what I want to bring up, was I listened to a book. Now, I think it was with my friend. I must have been with him. He must have said it, or someone's said it. I don't know how I got this book. Anyway, I was going through my photos looking for something, and I saw this photo of this book. And then I looked. It was on Audible, because then I could listen to it. And it's called The Priest We Need to Save the Church. And it's a Catholic book written by a layman in the States. And it's really interesting. Has anyone heard of this book? The Priest We Need to Save the Church. And I was like, okay, it is a Catholic book, but let's see if there's any transferable things for us in the Church of England. Answer, and I'll catch up in the chat. Kath Finley, Church of Scotland has no BCP. We should have imported. You could have had it, James the First, of James the. I forgot that. First of England, 6th of Scotland. Or was it the other way around? Psalm 125. I've been dipping in and out of tonight's live stream as I'm getting ready to go on the Netherlands early tomorrow for a fortnight to help with my grandchildren there. Well, just have me on the background in the chat and make sure you're getting ready. Don't forget your passport. John Clark, how's my injury? How's my injury? My injury is, well, it's not too bad. Where were we? I phoned the doctors. I phoned 111. And I went to the doctors. Oh, yeah, that was it. I went to the doctors. They said I had a fracture. And then they put me in contact with the physiotherapy in Amersham. And they phoned me last week and said, come in. And so I'm going to go in on Tuesday afternoon and to have it assessed. So that's an hour for an assessment. And I'm not kind of looking forward to that because they're going to see how far I can move it and things. And that's going to be a bit painful because I can feel the pain. But then it's half an hour. So it's good. Things are heading in the right direction. Funny thing is, does feel stronger. So hopefully with the physiotherapy, I can get out running because I piled on the pounds. Casida, what's this about? Let's remove. I'm not entirely political on this channel, so I don't know why you want to put Advance UK on there. But, good on you, but that's what you want to vote for. We talk about the kingdom of God, not the kingdom of the world too much here. So I hope I didn't delete anyone else's as I got rid of those. Oh, wait a sec. No, so I because I deleted it, it jumped down. I'm just removing. You made your point. But if you spam anymore, we will put you in the naughty room. You made your point. JKK, where do you think the Church of England will be in 10, 20 years' time? Is it likely to be disestablished, or will all evangelicals have left the CAV by then? It's, where will it be? I think there's the first part of the answer is God is on the throne. He's in control ultimately, not us. So we just need to be obedient. We need to stay faithful to our calling. This is both clergy and laity. If we feel called to stay, then we need to contend. If we're called to leave, if we feel that the red line's been crossed and we leave, I think leave well, and don't lob bricks, grenades back. I see that quite a lot. It's like, we'll just comment on what's happening, absolutely fine, but don't do that. Leave well. And then there's a practical thing. So he's on the throne. We got to honor what we feel that we need to do. But then there's a practical thing, with the whole LLF stuff. A lot of people didn't go forward for ordination. So we got a lack of vicars. I think the numbers pick back up, but where, it'll be a dip. So we'll have a whole dip where people didn't come through. And I don't think it's recovered enough to even itself out. So we're not going to have enough people come through. We will have a lot of people retiring. At the moment, there's a kind of whole cohort of retiring. So we're losing them. And some are taking early retirement because they're LLF and wanted to get out. And so we'll have less priests in and still the same amount of churches. So either some churches have to close, or the benefits get bigger, or you take on more churches. And if you take on more churches, it's harder to grow because you've got more parishes, and it's about being seen and things. You look at the Diocese of Leicester and the Diocese of Truro, where they've done these huge, like 30. I don't know, what do they call them? I forgot what they're called now. Did some videos on them a couple of years ago. Like a massive benefits, like 30, and you'll have 2 or 3 vicars for the whole of that, and they expect the laity to run all these, and I just can't see it working. God can make it work, but practically So you could be taking that model and being forced to put that in other areas of the country. I did a video on Wigan where they experimented with that with Wigan, and it absolutely failed really badly. What else will go on? Well, a lot of churches are liberal as well, so they're not preaching the gospel, and so people won't be convicted, and people won't take that anymore. So for example, I was speaking about this to someone about the younger generation, these young men coming. They want the truth, and they want to hear what you've got to say. And if you're not saying what they believes in the Bible, what they're reading in the Bible, then they will dismiss you. You know, they've grown up with that. So you've got this whole mixture of so much going on. And I know this, I'm trying not to make my answers too long, but it is a big question, and there's different things here. And but I think where it will be, I think smaller. You could say smaller and more orthodox. That's what the hope is, that it will kind of die a bit, but it'd be more orthodox. Would it be disestablished? That might help the CAV, but I don't think it will be. I think the legality of it all, and it just won't happen. And will all evangelicals leave by then? Well, it's the evangelical churches, mostly in the main, and traditional Anglo-Catholic churches as well, which are growing. So if you left, the question is, and this is the big thing, if you left, to where and to what? You know, people are growing at evangelical churches. They're the ones with the money. They're the ones who are doing amazing outreach. But if you leave, where do you go? There isn't a denomination that's set up to be able to take all of us. So in a way, we are where we are. There's a bit, like I say, and there's even more that I could add. I don't want to get into it, but maybe I could do a video where will we be in 10 years time, and then look back at 10 years time and see if how close I was. But because you also got dioceses who are nearly on their knees because they're in debt. You know, they haven't got enough money coming in. You also got parishes that just can't pay their parish share, common fund, or whatever you call it. There's another name, that quota, and the diocese, like my diocese, say, well, if you can't pay, you don't get. So when, for example, if you took my parish and we didn't pay how much they spend on me, if they didn't pay that when I leave, no matter what the church is doing, they wouldn't get a full-time rector. And so that's gonna destroy the church in attendance and outreach and the amount of time you could spend. So there's so many things, and the trouble is the Church of England is so big that of an institution, I think it is a trust in God. And my question is God done with the Church of England? And I don't see it. I don't see it. Some people will say yes, he is, but I just don't see it. Right, let's catch up. John Clark. Well, if part of your work is to do the good work and share the views of the church and Bible, then surely your channel counts. Yes. if you follow a different narrative than the one that God does. Yeah, I always separated my ministry online and my church. It's probably not now, but it was at the beginning. I got heat, should we say, and questions. So easy to separate them out. But like I say, I don't think it's like that now. Kath, the YouTube content is immensely helpful for your wider parish. It is actually. Someone said in my parish, why don't we use your videos? They're incredibly helpful. To which my response was, I'm not making that choice. I'm so wary. I said, you can make that choice. You can make that if you want to, absolutely. But I'm not going to put that out there because you get heat. Where are we? Nick, very good news for my parish today. We received permission from our bishop to start the planning process for our restoration work of our church. That's good because because there's that thing by the government, isn't there, where you've got to pay extra tax. I hope they do get rid of that because that would just be a nightmare for churches. So I pray you can get everything paid for. Qasida, free Iran from Islam, make Iran Christian. That's what we want, the gospel to be in there. Nick, we plan to restore our high altar, reinstall our side altars, and install a permanent communion rail again. We'll also be hopefully hiring a new organist soon. Oh, that's cool. Where are you? TP, what injury? I was running. I put myself into train for Milton Keynes Marathon on Bank Holiday Monday, May, and I was running. I just got past the horrible part where it was just, ugh, and I got to the part where I started to enjoy running again, and I turned across the road and I thought I just tore a tendon, and it turns out that I fractured my ankle. But I didn't find out for 6 weeks because they didn't send an email from the hospital. So now I am just waiting. But I think the prayer's working, to be honest. Saying that, when I'm saying it's stronger, I think it must be prayer. John, I'm praying that you'd have a speedy recovery. Thank you. Yeah, I need. TP, delete me, please. Delete you? What do you mean delete you? I don't have that power. God can delete you. Well, what do you want me? What do you want me to do? Delete you on the question? I don't know. It wasn't a bad question. It was one of the easy ones. Did anyone see Mike Winger? All I got when I come up, I saw something that he's putting out a 5-hour video, and then the other day he said something. It's about Bethel, and as I was getting ready, it come up on the home screen. His video, it's like nearly 6 hours, and I'm like, oh, who has time to watch that? Crazy. Can you imagine a 6-hour video? Wow. Oh, am I skipping comment? Richard, you skipped my comment about the Syria not being Reformed Catholic. I didn't. I think where was that? It is still Catholic. We are Catholic, but we're Reformed. We are Catholic, but Reformed. Okay. Maybe YouTube was being good to me there. Mr. Baker, that's great news. Our priest uses side altars ad orientem, facing away from congregation on relevant feast days. I still do that in the Church of England. Some churches have their altars built up against the back wall, so no one can get behind them anymore. Qasida, I only stay in the CV because I have a great rector and it's a lovely church, but I don't like the whiteness in the CV nor the abortion support and archbishop. That's one. I got the script ready to be recorded tomorrow about the abortion numbers coming out, and I tried to look to see if there was any comments by the bishops or archbishops. Or there's only one archbishop at the moment, and I couldn't as yet find them. If you have seen anything, please do let me know. But I wish on that subject, I saw someone say it's just done 300,000 births, and was it 591,000 live births or something? That means a third of the cohort of that year have already lost their lives. It's crazy. If you think, a classroom which would have had 30 children, only 20 made it, and Ted didn't, already before they were even born. Crazy. So might be my video tomorrow, or probably will be my video tomorrow. Rich, yeah. The last live stream I commented on, Everton were teaching me about suffering. Thankfully, this week we are learning about ultimate vindication. I was listening. I went to Hatfield to get my son from American football, and I was listening to it in the car. And when I got home, it was still playing, and I knew we would lose. I think it's because we just thought we would win and we'd get second, and I knew we would lose. I don't think but I say, and I know. I shouldn't say this as a Villa fan. I don't think we will win the Premiership. We got a lot of injuries, and John McGinn just got taken off, and so we got so many injuries now. I don't think we got the depth of the squad at the moment to do it, but we'll see. Casida. I also don't like the way bishops criticise and put Christ back into Christmas carol service. They were acting like Pharisees and the elder brother of the prodigal son. Yeah, they shouldn't have gone down that route. It gave more prominence to a carol service. In fact, if they wanted to do anything, the best option for them would have just been quiet about it. A lot of people wouldn't have known about it then. I forgot it already. Prawn ICD. Oh, it's up somewhere else. Was it Russell? I'm not even going to go. I think it was Russell. Awful memory. I was not impressed with Leicester Cathedral when I visited a few years ago. They had a man preaching who was trying to be a woman, a very unfriendly atmosphere, and nobody wanted to talk to you. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's just not there. There will be a swing back. Yeah, and we're seeing it in society. It's not being accepted in the society, a lot of these things, let alone in the church. And those churches will continue down that route. Will not flourish. They won't flourish. Casida, people are getting saved at Unite the Kingdom events, and we are all praying for the freedom of Iran too, which is good. And I don't deny that. I think people are, but also if you see my video that I've done, a couple of them where I commented, people also at the Unite the Kingdom events, because they came to the church because they want to save the Church of England. You know, they're saying the church needs, that's, you know, God's on the throne. God will save the Church of England. I won't save the Church of England. Us lot won't save the Church of England. We can be obedient and we can just get on with what he's called us to do. But ultimately, God will save the Church of England. But, you know, God works through all these things, Unite the Kingdom. My one question would be to Casida. What do you think of Ricky Doolan? Because Ricky Doolan denies the Holy Trinity. And I wouldn't share a stage with him because that's heretical. And I wouldn't want to be seen to endorse that. I'm sure he's a lovely bloke, nothing against him. I'm sure he's absolutely fine. But he needs to believe that God, Father, Son, and Holy Trinity. He doesn't. Dorothy, we have 5 churches in our benefice, and the poor rector is very stretched, but does his best. That's the thing. And people are called to those as well, aren't they? They are called. I see people who are called to rural ministry, and they're just driving around a big area as well, especially when it's very rural. And lots of churches, small churches, trying to keep it going, but really hard to grow them. The data from the Church of England that they did in 2012 was 1 vicar, 1 church equals growth. But Prawn, I went back the next day and it was the same. I could say a lot more about this. Yeah. We just don't go back, you know. That's the thing. Taken out of these young men and women. Is the majority men, but young women as well are going into church, brought up in a way that's you can be anything, you can do anything, you can be anything you want, do anything you want, whatever. It's everything's free, you know, everything's, and they've been damaged by it. So now they're looking for truth, and they won't take nonsense anymore. And I think that's one thing that we got to learn from them. It's not to take nonsense. If you're not speaking truth, then I'm not going to listen. They're very keep you on your toes when they ask questions, I tell you. Kath, we have 3 churches and 1 minister, 1 Sunday a month, no church open in our town. I understand the thinking, but the community needs a church that is open every week. And yeah, that's exactly it. Or be strategic and then try to gather people. But the trouble is, people are very parochial in there. They want their own church open and not come down to somewhere else. But people's hearts has to be changed. Casida answering Pron ICD. Wow, that's what is it? A pantomime? I believe Leicester Cathedral also has an Islamic imam in there chanting Muslim prayers in Arabic. I hope not. Oh, Lee, Wisconsin. Hey, Father Dan, how was your mass service? So I did the 8 o'clock, which was really lovely. Actually, busy. They put on a coffee morning after every so often, like every 3 or 4 months, to get them all together, which is really lovely. So we busier this morning and then going over for coffee, which is nice. But it's between the services. But I knew I was preaching, so I prepared a sermon, but I also thought I was leading. So I was chatting to people, and then I went to church, and then I got to church, and then realised my assistant priest, associate priest Paul, was there, and he was leading. So give me breathing space. That's my fault. I should have looked a bit more at the rota. It's because last week I was leading and he was preaching, so I didn't think he was on, but I put him on for this week. So so that was good, and busy. It's been quiet after Christmas, very quiet because of the weather, and then today was really busy. So it's funny on our church because we got, I always look one way and you guys look this way, and I always look that way, so I always have to translate. But let's do it from my camera point of view. So we got 4 seats, the main part in the middle, and then 2 aisles on the side. And then this side of the church was quite full on both the aisle by the wall and the aisle in the middle. That side of the church was a bit quieter. So everybody sat over this side, and it felt lopsided. It felt like if we was on a boat, we would be tilting. Which it's funny that everyone sat all there. Now we just need to fill in the gaps, which is good. But it's good. It was a good atmosphere. And we just started the Psalms. So we started a sermon series on the Psalms, starting on Psalm 1. And we're going through, because the Psalm lends themselves to Lent. So in Lent, we're using the Psalms as well. And, those Lenten Psalms. So I think it'd be great, this sermon series for the next few weeks. But I'm realising how soon Lent is after Christmas. And then I was speaking to my administrator this week that Easter's earlier next year. Earlier. So it's going to feel like we just finished one and really starting another. So, Gloucester Cathedral and Wales Cathedral also has Muslim prayers said in there in Arabic. Islam believes the worst sin is shirk, saying God has a son. They could have been cursing us for that. Yeah, we got to be careful. You should only pray Christian prayers in a Christian church and nothing else. Zoe, good evening all. Good evening to you. Thanks for joining. Karen, do you think that the churches need to both love? Do you think that the churches need to both love and truth rather than not having equal amounts of love and truth? Sorry, it's hard to express what I mean on here, but maybe you understand. I hope I understand. Do you think that the churches need to both love and truth rather than not having equal amounts of love and truth? I think context is king on this. It needs love and truth. So when I had my little YouTube sabbatical last year, what I was trying to understand was, how do you do well if people are following you and you do have that influence and they're going to stand before God? What Christianity am I exposing to people? And I think this is really important, because we have to stand before Jesus Christ and account for all those things we have and haven't done. And one of the things I will be accounting for is my online ministry and how I speak. So when I read John, and Jesus came full of truth and grace, which is I suppose the love part as well, and those kind of attributes, the truth, the righteousness, the holiness, and the grace, the love, and the compassion, they're opposites, and yet he held both, but in different contexts. So I think we need to do both. I think when I was studying this, you attack the ideologies, or but not the people. You see this with Jesus, and you pray for your enemies. That's one of the big things we pray. We are battling the flesh, the world, the devil, and the flesh. We're not battling people. And so what is the context saying where we need to either love or we need to truth? Because sometimes we can go in for truth, and it's a time that we actually need to love. And actually in love, it will be more effective. So I think we need to hold both, and it's hard to hold both because sometimes it's easier to speak truth, but Ephesians 4:15 says speak truth in love anyway. So when we do speak truth, we speak it in love, because we are in a world with all these ideologies, all these things going on, and it's crazy at the moment, and we have to not become like the world and react like the world. And Jesus didn't. That's why ultimately they killed him. And he came to show the way. And we that's why the early Christians were called followers of the way. And so what is the way we should live? And it's that. I think if we go too much love, we end up with what the liberal churches are, and welcoming all and everything except for those who uphold the gospel. If we go too much truth, we can go to, in a way that you could say is labelled at some conservative churches, that there's no compassion, there's no love, and I don't believe that, but that's what people say. But we have to hold both. I think conservative churches are more welcoming than liberal churches, because liberal churches just don't. Well, we see, take it out of the church. Just seeing in Minneapolis that you've got groups of liberals going around looking for conservative people, not to debate, but to beat up. That's like, you're supposed to be compassionate and welcoming, and yet you're doing that. It's crazy. So yeah, holding them in tension, and that's hard. It's hard to do, but that's what we're called to do as Christians. Richard, my previous comment was that the COV is not Reformed Catholic, but 100% Protestant. Yeah. And that's why the monarch promises to uphold the Protestant faith in the coronation. The PCP is entirely Protestant. Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll let you off, because that's so gracious, me. Yeah, that's my friend. I think we are, because we are Reformed. We're Catholic, because one Holy Apostolic Catholic Church. I think that's where it comes from, but with a Reformed part. But yeah, Protestant. Kath, I miss the liturgy in the COV sometimes. Church of Scotland is none. No liturgy whatsoever. Oh, I thought being Anglican you would have liturgy. Yusuf, do you think Michael Carrick's the true replacement for Alex Ferguson? Not that I'm a Man United fan, but I mean, there's a bit of a worry there, isn't there? That you win one game against your arch rivals, and then they're going to say he's the next Alex Ferguson. I don't think anyone can be the next Alex Ferguson and do what he did, and I think that needs to be put to bed. It's like the Tory party, isn't it, with Maggie Thatcher? She did what she did, and then you draw a line under that, and then you start doing something new. Not always harking back and saying we're going to find the next Maggie Thatcher or the next Alex Ferguson. So no. I don't think Michael Carrick will be. Kath Finley, why are churches allowing Islamic imams space to pray? I have no idea. It's so short-sighted, and I think it actually goes against the canon law, canon rules, to do that. But they have done that. I know they did that in Scotland as well. It's all this interfaith thing, but in reality, interfaith, as much as it's good when there's a tragedy to come together to show solidarity, I think it's far more honest that we just say that we don't believe in each other's religion at all. In fact, a lot of them are so incompatible. That's not harsh or anything. That's just the truth. So, they wouldn't invite us to go into their mosques to pray at all. So, John Clark, I do have a photographic memory. Admittedly, it's still in development. Oh, did we do this last time? I got a feeling. I think we did go down dad jokes last time. I think we did. JKK, my old CV church is a male vicar in relationship with another man and has 2 of the PCC go to gay pride marches. That's yeah, that's the yeah. I think I spoke the last 3 years so much about that. It doesn't surprise me. Casida, I like Ricky Dillon. I was not aware he doesn't believe in the Holy Trinity. Strange, since he was baptizing people in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. In the sense that he doesn't believe. He doesn't believe. He's from a prosperity gospel church, which is a big no, and he believes in what they call modalism or oneness Pentecostalism, which is the new version of it. Modalism it was a heresy that got kicked out in the 2nd or 3rd century. I think 3rd century. Which says it's not God the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and they're one but distinct, and and all that. Modalism says they kind of change character. So Jesus is Jesus, and then he becomes the Father, and then he changes to the Holy Spirit. It's all, and that's what they believe, and it's heretical. It's what we call a first order issue. It won't get you to heaven, and that's the problem, and that's the danger with the Unite the Kingdom movement, because I see it with the people there all on the stage, and I don't think that they could last over time because you can't stand the solidarity with someone who denies the Holy Trinity. I think if people so let's take the previous Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, who wanted gay marriage in the church. I would go for a pint with him. I would sit down and have a meal with him, and I got nothing against the person with his beliefs. If I stood with him on a big event on a stage and started, sharing the stage, and it looked like because I was there, I believe what he was. A lot of people who follow me would get like, what are you doing there with him? They would be confused by the whole Paul thing, isn't it, about eating meat and things like that. Don't do it if it confuses people. And if I stood on stage with him, it would confuse, because they think, is Dan now in that camp? So you just don't do it. And so it's the same with that. I think there'd be a lot of confusion as people start to learn. So the people who go to Unite the Kingdom marches, if they learn more about Christianity, they'll be like, how can you? But we'll see. It's not my thing. I can comment on it, but that's their thing to sort out. Sunshine Lady, Rev Dan, do you think becoming the best saint we can be is the best weapon to defeat our enemies in the world? Yeah. Well, I'll phrase it this way. I think becoming the best saint you can will get you more enemies worldwide, and that's why we pray for them, because they're being used by the devil. And So I think we should all be living out our callings. If you know me before and I said this, is that I really think God's given us different gifts and talents. We're in our different contexts, and God will want us to use them. And that's how we have a fulfilled life. As Jesus says, I come and that you may have a fulfilled life. What is a fulfilled life? I think it's truly serving God, truly knowing God, and working with him, with the gifts and talents that he's given us, and working with the Holy Spirit. What could be better than that? But as soon as you put your head above the parapet, the devil will come after you, and he will use people. He will use people. And we can get angry at those people. But actually, what's really sad is that those people think they're doing good, and they're thinking they're doing the right thing, but actually they're just being manipulated. And that's where we should have compassion for these people. One, because they think they're doing right, but they're actually being used by the devil. And two, they will have to stand before Jesus to account. So I would hope that they would repent. I've had it happen to me, and I pray that don't even come to my face and say they're sorry to me. I hope that you actually repent in your heart. If you can't face me, I hope that you actually do repent, because I'd rather you repent this side of heaven or death rather than going to see Jesus, because that would be worse. So I think, yes, being the best saint that you can be, it is the best weapon for sure. But not to defeat enemies. I think it will just stoke the fire, and there'll be a bit of an onslaught, but we will prevail because God's on his throne. And remember, people aren't coming against us. This is the amazing thing. This is what I've learned. If God's placed you somewhere and you're using your gifts and talents, and you've got an amazing ministry, whatever that is, then if people don't like what you're doing, well, basically they don't like what God is doing. So if they try to stop you, it's not actually about you, really. They're saying, God, you're wrong. And again, this is where compassion comes in, because who wants to say to God that he's wrong in that way and then actively try to stop your ministry? They are so going against him. So, that's why, we've got to pray for our enemies to see the light, to change their ways, because it'd be far worse. So yes, I think it will on both of those. It will stoke the fire, but it will be amazing as well. Zoe, Ricky Doolan has been seriously led astray by the so-called prophet of the Spirit Embassy Church. I feel bad for him more than anything and pray he pulls away from that church. And that's what I mean, I wouldn't wish this guy bad or anything, and I don't know him. I know people who do know him, and they say he's absolutely lovely, and I'm sure he is absolutely lovely. But people get led astray by bad theology and things like that. And it's like, get away from that and just do what you're truly going to, God's called you to do. Again, because he will stand before Jesus and got to account for him. I think I said this before. If you're unsure about something, just think about that time when you are stood before Jesus and given your answer. And then think, well, how would I answer this before him? Because you're not going to get away with it if you're wrong. And then work backwards from there. So you go, well, this isn't right. So work backwards and change what you're doing. Because I don't think we realize, or we live our lives in a choice. We live our lives in such a way that we realize, well, there I go again. You know what I mean? We don't live our Christian lives in a way that we are, there's a fear of God in that way, that we will be accountable. And we just think, well, I think sometimes, even I do it, it's not really going to happen, but it will. Zoe, anyone calls himself a prophet, I'm out. Yeah, that's one thing. Luckily I haven't got that gifting or anything like that, a prophet. But yeah, prophets, that's one thing I probably agree with you. John Clark, I have a dilemma. I may have to travel to a non-English speaking country. The country has Catholic Christian churches. The problem is I don't speak their language. I will feel awkward attending. How do I deal with this? Well, you know, it's, I'm just trying to think, because you know that book that I said earlier, what is it? No one commented on the book, by the way, I don't think, or have I not got down there yet? Just being slow. The Priest We Need to Save the Church. You know what? It's a Catholic book, but they would talk about Jesus so much in such a way that when I hear about, you know, the Catholics and what people say, and I'm hearing this book, it doesn't go together. It's, you know, disjointed from what they're saying the Catholics are, because some of the priests are so, and I said this before, you know, so evangelical in their Catholicism. So I got married, but I was an atheist at the time, in a Catholic country, Colombia, by an archbishop in the country. So so for me, but there wasn't a God thing. It wasn't the God question. I think perhaps, you know, you want to go to church, go find, and as much as you can, find a church that it is where you are theologically, and just attend. My mother-in-law, being Catholic, when she used to come to stay with us, used to go to the English Catholic church services. She didn't understand a word, but she wanted to be there, and I think it's worshipping in that, and it's also quite interesting seeing how other people worship. So I think go along. Once, I think maybe I just read the Catholic part a bit there. They will have other denominations, I'm sure. It might just be a bit of a search or speaking to people. Psalm 125. Mike Winger's video is very long, but it's worth watching in bite-sized chunks. I much appreciate his ministry, as I do Rev Dan. Thank you. I spoke to years ago. It had a kind of, it wasn't an email exchange. It was a Facebook Messenger exchange with him very early on, years ago. But he's a very nice guy, does a lot of work. I think he's got a good team around him. Very successful, nearly on 1 million subscribers. It's crazy. That's like crazy. Unbelievable. That's good news. It kind of warms my heart that Christianity is taken over the States in that sense. They got so many people, but that'd be not just in the States, that'd be worldwide, but that he's got so many followers and he speaks truth. That's the thing. He speaks truth. So that's gets out there. That's like, yeah. Richard, do you get training and support to train your curate? I'm in theological education and think support for incumbent with curates is often lacking. We don't have a curate. We don't have a curate. So, but there is, I think it could be so much better. I think it really could be so much better. There's, being myself in a theological institution and going into a training parish, it's such a disconnect in there. So, but if you got, it all comes down, I think it really comes down to the training incumbent. If you've got a really good training incumbent, you can have an amazing time. If you're in the right parish where God's called you, you can have an amazing time. People will go to, it's amazing as well, people will just go to certain parishes that they've lined up and things like that, rather than where perhaps God's going. But I would say, I would agree with you. The support for incumbent with curates is lacking. I would probably say that it is. The country in question is Bolivia. Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I know there are a lot of Catholic churches, but they'll have other denominations there. I think it'd be interesting to go to a church service to see what they do. Okay, you're chatting amongst yourselves. Someone to find. My vicar went to the Tommy Robertson Carousel service and was very impressed by it. And it was, I saw it because I do what I do. I look on. Am I out of focus? Just looking at myself. Went off my phone. I watched it. Yeah, it was very good. You know, I'm just gonna see if it goes in focus. I don't know if I'm out of focus on that. They had, from my remembering, is they had readings and hymns and testimonies and stuff like that. Yeah, I thought it'd be very good for the people that were there and the people that watched. Nick, British Roman Catholics will also be receiving a new Archbishop in February. Bishop Richard Moth will take possession of the See of Westminster on the 14th of February 2026. Ah, I did not know that. Oh, so where's he from? I'm not saying where's he from, like in England. I assume that he's English, but I mean, whereabouts in England? Do they have to be from the country? I assume they have to be from the country. Well, they don't need to be, do they? They could be from a foreign country. Doesn't matter, does it? Mr. Baker, I always remove headwear in churches. I wax always taught that only women and clergy can wear headgear in God's house. I was taught. I thought when I started to read that, when you said I remove headwear in churches and I wax, I thought you're bold and you or do something with your head to make it shiny. I was always taught that only women and clergy can wear headgear in God's house, and that has always stuck with me. My grandmother taught me this. Yeah. Yeah. I remember learning in 1 Corinthians about this. I really need to get my notes, because what the lecturer said was really compelling, but I just can't remember. But I suppose it's one of those, in your formative years, we spoke about this the other day, in your formative years, you remember those things. Bron, I've got to go back up and look. I'm going to go on my other chat so I can, my other screen that I always put on, but I don't use anymore. There's so many chats. I can't find. Oh, Russell and Valerie. So Russell or Russell and Valerie asked, would love to talk to you about speaking truth with love, reference abortion. We have an abortion centre in our parish in Bournemouth. So that's the famous one, isn't it? That's where I believe from Rev Dan's roundup, Isabella Vaughan Spruce got arrested. Was it in Bournemouth? Was it that one? I think it was that. Zoe, I have nothing against Tommy Roberts' counsel service. The only thing I'm struggling with is people keep saying Tommy is sparking revival. Only God can do this. Yeah, that's the other thing. But everything's a revival at the moment. I mean, nothing like the quiet revival. I know what they were trying to get at. Everything's a revival. And I remember someone saying this years ago. It's not about revival. It is. Revival's cool, right? Everyone says bring revival. Revival only lasts for a short time. It's what you do after. It's how you set people up. There's a whole load of discipleship. There's a whole load of, if you've got all these people, what do you do after, and things like that. But if you look at the revivals of the past, there's always certain things that the church needs to do. There's prayer and fasting and preaching and all these things and many other things. I'm covering my name up. That's not good advertising. Before revival comes, and none of those which I see have been met. So to say that someone's bringing revival, if I would also say this: if Tommy Robinson did bring revival, so be it. That's good. We want revival, and if it came through him, absolutely brilliant. Because great. I can't see it. Because those conditions that usually bring, there's a revival, but we are due a revival. We are so due a revival. Sorry, I know Tommy thinks this Casadi. I know. It's great you tag each other, because that helps me when in the chat, so I don't go on there. But I'm not sure of this one. I'll read it anyway. Zoe, I know Tommy thinks this Casada, but people surrounding him are not helping the situation. Okay, so that's at my context. But I think, anyone like with Tommy Robinson who's just come to faith, and I think people question whether he has, and I think that's again between him and God, is just to have the right people around to disciple and to show the way, and that's important. That's important because it's the hardest time once you become a Christian. You really go under attack. Sunshine Lady, you skipped my question. FR. No, was that me? Father, FR. Is that me? FR. You skipped my question. What was your question? Oh, I'm sorry I skipped your question. I'll go on my other one and try to find. Oh, there's such a long chat. This is great. I might not be able to find your chat. I can't see a question. I only see a question, John Clark. Okay. Ask it down below and then I'll catch up if that was directed to me. Karen, thank you for answering my question in regards to the church having both truth and love. I totally agree with you and I feel that you do speak the truth in love, as it says in Ephesians. Yeah, I spent a long time trying to get there. It's hard. It's hard. It's easy. I think it's more easy to be outraged. I think it's very easy to be outraged, and sometimes I am. If I see something, I can easily get outraged by it, but then I have to step back and just go, no, 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 no. Oh, Zoe, I missed you. I'm proving to myself I am missing things. Sorry, Zoe. I met Ricky Doolin myself. I went to his Bible study, and it was bizarre. There we go. Kath, the Church of Scotland not part of Anglican Communion. Oh, right, okay. Oh, yeah. In Scotland, it's Episcopal churches that are Anglican, and I really, I always forget that. I forget that it's not the Church of Scotland, is it? It's the. I do forget that's my ignorance, and I apologise to Scotland for that. Zoe, pray for Ricky. Exactly. He has got a ministry to a lot of people, and it could be amazing how he can engage with people with the truth. So we don't want prosperity gospel, and we don't want modalism. We want the true Trinity to be preached. Modalism addressed on a YouTube channel called Lutheran Satire. Oh, they're really good. In a video called St. Patrick's Bad Analogies, well worth a watch. Yeah, Lutheran Satire. I came across them years ago. They were funny. They were good. Casida, never heard of modalism. I just believe in the Bible. There are other Christians in the UTK movement. I especially love Richard Inman. I haven't heard of it. I don't know who Richard Inman is. I'll Google him. Well, different denominations will believe in different things and say different things, so we can be influenced. I think it's important to read the Bible and understand what people are saying, and making sure what people are saying isn't, you just don't take it as truth. I said that in my pulpit today, preaching on the Psalms. We have a choice. Psalm 1 was a choice, basically, isn't it? Which path are you going to choose? And in that, I said, you have to make sure what I'm saying, it's not about me. And I don't get like that it stops being about Jesus and it starts being about me and what I'm doing. And if it's ever like that, you have to come and tell me, and you have to challenge me, because as I was talking about, it's a slow drift. You don't just wake up and go, right, that's it, I'm going to rebel. Some people do, but usually it's just a slow drift and you don't notice it. And that's why it's important to be in community, because in the community, in your church, they do, and they start seeing this slow drift. And they might not say anything at the beginning, because it might not be so bad, but it gets to a point where they go, we need to take action. And I said, if it starts becoming about me, then you need to take action with me. And hear that. And I think that's what we all need to be accountable. Gath, Kath Finley. I don't know why I don't say it just Kath. I always say Kath Finley. Can be lovely and very wrong. I lost the context on that. Sorry. Psalm 125. The Inclusive Church in the Church of England is very liberal with trans and gay in high positions. There are two I know in Northwest London, both Anglo-Catholic. Yeah, but you know, we know this, and any church that belongs to the inclusive church is something we just avoid, and we just go find a church that is orthodox, conservative, traditional, however you call it. I keep calling it different because I speak to different people, and some will say traditional, some will say conservative, and some will say orthodox. So I now got all three. I wish we just settled on one word. Lee, Wisconsin. Hi, Father Dan. I do have an idea to help out the Reconquista movement within the Episcopalian Church and possibly the CV that I think can be helpful parishes that want to defend themselves from liberal abuse of discipline. Yeah, and hopefully to advance reforms, go tech, and in tech and CAV. Yeah, well, email me, and that'd be good. Someone reached out to me. I got to answer them back. I haven't answered them back yet. To meet with something called cross bearers, which are part of Reconquista now. So the as you know, the American football's on there. Don't know what I'm going to have on there once the Super Bowl's out the way. I'm not really watching it. It's 10:20, and I didn't even see a touchdown. Catherine Lee, why would you not accept prophetic ministry? It's there in the New Testament. No, I accept it. No, I accept prophetic ministry. I believe that the gifts still continue, that they didn't cease at all. I still believe in that. What I meant is prophetic stuff for me is not. It's not one of my gifts. Like if God used me prophetically, then that's more by luck in a sense than any gifting. That's what I meant. If that question was for me, but I do believe prophetic ministry is there, and I've had prophetic ministry done over me and stuff said about my ministry online. That's why I've kept going. That's one of the reasons I came back. That's one of the reasons I talk about the faithful remnant and things, because that's part of that. JKK, I'm sure you're aware that there is an Alpha course for Catholics, which is very evangelical. Yeah, we're doing Alpha at the moment. But you got the Alpha for Catholics. I never watched a video of that, but it'd be interesting, actually. Is it the same people in the video? I wouldn't know. You got Alpha for prisons, Alpha for teens. We've done the Alpha for teens, the old video and the new videos. But a lot of people still don't like Alpha. But I think it's great to have it starts conversations. Maybe should read The Priest We All Need. Is that the book that was? Yeah, it's. I think you should read. Is that the book that I just said? It's good. That's a good book for Catholics as well. Matt, that's interesting that when you married you were an atheist. How long have you been a Christian and then a vicar? So. I became a Christian 16 years ago, probably this month. And I became a vicar in 2010, January 2010, I think, around that time. And I became a vicar in 2015. So it was crazily quick. It's a story to tell. Within 3 years of becoming a Christian, I was accepted into the Church of England. And I spent 2 years at theological college. So what is it, 2012? Became a Christian in 2010. In November 2012, I got the answer that I was being accepted for ordination or for training. You get accepted for training, then you have to go to college. So, and maybe I'll tell the story one day, but I remember saying, because I was reading the Paul to Timothy, and I remember saying to the DDO I was speaking to, saying, I'm too young a Christian. I don't know enough but I had such fire and passion. And this person said, Dan, God's going to use you. He's going to use you. And that gave me the confidence to say, okay, let's go for this then. And if I get through, then, and yeah, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. You know, I took a few, it's nice. I wouldn't say fully what they said, but I took a funeral on Friday. I've always tried to there's a holiness thing, right? And don't forget, I take that very seriously. I really do. But it's also an engagement thing, and being an atheist. I took a funeral on Friday, and someone sent me a text and said who attended it. They don't know me. It's through Facebook. I just wanted to say what a lovely service you did. Every church should have a down-to-earth Dan with a laughy face. And I thought that was really lovely, because with the truth and grace thing, where you hold these two opposites in tension, I try to hold the holiness and the down to earth, the engaging thing. If there's one thing that God called me when I first got called, it was right here. I always say this, it was the word engage. I just heard it so right here, weirdly right here, not in here, but it was like engage. And that was like, that's how my ministry was. It's like engage. And it's holding this holiness, this righteousness, who I am, being called as a priest, and not to make a mockery of that, but also to engage with people. And it's really hard to find the balance to walk that line, because sometimes it can be blurred, but sometimes it can be awesome. I went on it was a stag do. It's my brother's stag do, actually, and people knew I was a vicar. And then we were going on the pubs, and on the third pub, because I was like there and I was having pints and things like that, people started to relax, and they were like, by the third pub, they were like, well, you know, what? We thought you wouldn't drink. We thought it'd be all awkward. And I'm like, well, I am a person as well. I'm not going to get paralytic. I'm not going to get really drunk, but, you know, and end up just lying in a ditch. That's not what I'm going to do. But by the third pub, I was giving my testimony of how I became a Christian. And that's where I feel my one of my callings is to walk that fine line, to hold that holiness, but to also engage with people. So when you've got a stag do, you've got 20 men in a pub listen to how you became a Christian. So it's crazy. I'm like, oh, praise the Lord. Like, so yeah, it was a crazy time. But that was, yeah, 10. So I've been a priest 10 years, 10 and a half years now. Where are we? Rev Dan, Mr. Baker, Rev Dan, you are lucky your wife came to faith with you after marriage. Pray that my wife proclaims Jesus before it's too late. Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, I was very lucky because actually my wife was in the Catholic Church, and she left the Catholic Church just when she came to England in 1998 to study English. And then we got married, and years later, about 6 months before I started going to church, next door neighbours moved back. They were going to Tim Keller's church in New York, and he worked for World Vision, and they started going back to the church that they attended in Bicester before they went over to the States. And we got to know them, and they said to my wife, come to church. And my wife went to church and loved it, and took my son. And so she started going to church, and it was the day my mum died, on a Saturday in November, and my wife said on the Sunday, and I still can't believe, I must have been in such shock. She said, you're not staying here by yourself, you're coming with me. And I went to church, and I don't know why, I must have just been dazed to get there. So yeah, I was really lucky. But then when I said to her a year later, I want to become a priest, yeah, she was like, like at the start, what? So, but no, she has stuck with me. But yeah, pray. We got a guy in our church. It's really on his heart. He really does pray for people whose spouses aren't coming to church, and I think it's a big thing that we should pray for. So I'll be praying for that, Mr. Baker, and for all males. And for all females, I think it's so hard with a spouse and children, families whose children don't know Jesus. Cassida, wax your hair before you go into church. I, I was thinking more that he was bald and waxing his head make it shiny. But yeah, wax your hair. John Clark, I just want to say a huge thank you. I've asked a few questions over the weeks and your replies have been helpful. I'm very grateful. I just try to say what I say. I hope I try and get it right. Like I said, that's a responsibility. And so I do hope they are God-given answers. Jesus says, if you haven't got the answer, don't worry, the Holy Spirit will give it to you. So that's probably most of my answers. But I'm glad that this platform and this live stream could do that. That's the important thing. Nick, Bishop Moss served as Bishop of Arundel and Brighton, but was born in Rhodesia, 1950s Rhodesia. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, that's good. I think bringing something a bit more to England will brighten it up. Isn't the weather been awful? It's like a good day, bad day, good day, bad day. We were so lucky on the funeral the other day. On Friday, it was sunny, and I had to go from the church to the crematorium, and my wife was working, so she had the car, so I had to go on the motorbike, which is great actually, because apart from the roads being really dirty and having to just take it a bit easy, it was nice to get on the bike. But the day before, wow, the day before was just so rainy all day. It was horrendous. And it's like a good day and then a bad day and a good day and a bad day. Bring on the spring. 125. Ricky Doonan may well be lovely, but he's under deception. Yeah, exactly. He is, and that's why he needs prayer. And then that, he comes back and that loveliness can help people. Casida, we're doing a Passion for Life at our church. I got a Passion for Life t-shirt when I was at theological college, I think in 2014, when we went on mission and we did a Passion for Life. And I still got it. And I used it for whatever now, but it's, I bet since then I've never done it. So I'll have to look at that again. Is it going well? That's the question. Is it good? No, I so bad with names. I'm going to highlight it on my other chat so I can find it. Russell and Valerie, also known as Prawn. I've started ringing the bell at my church since our carol service. Each week I rope someone else in to help out, and they love it. Excuse the pun. I'm trying to see the pun. I'm missing the pun. Oh, I rope. Yeah, I get it. I see it. I lost it, but then I found it. It was lost, but now it's found. And now I will laugh. It was a good dad joke. Ringing the bell's really special. We're lucky. I think we got 8 bells in our church, and we got a team. Is it a team of ringers, or is it? They know something else. And sometimes we got more than 8 there. We got 10 people are standing around so we got really good. We're very lucky because a lot of churches haven't got bells. I think bells are really special. I grew up in my village with bell ringers, and hearing it going in the village on a particular night. I can't remember what night, but we do the bells practice here on Tuesday. In my previous parish, it was on a Friday, and I was there during COVID. And I remember someone saying, after COVID, when they could go ring the bells for the first time, and I remember on the Facebook group on the village, they said that they so missed the bells. Like the bells fell silent, there was something that was always there. And suddenly as life stopped, even the bells stopped. And when those bells came back, it was... So I think bells are really good. When I was at theological college, I went on a placement at a really high Anglo Catholic church, and they rang the bell for when they did mass. And I loved the way they rang the bells. So they had one bell to ring. And so they did 30 slow rings, like dung, 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 dung. And then, was it 30, and then 3 slower ones. So, and it was Jesus' life and his ministry. So 30 years of his life, counting those, and then 3 years of his ministry. And I thought that's evangelism through bells. That's really cool. I loved it. It was like, yeah, it was just, so people over all that time in that parish would have heard every day that bell rung that way. And suddenly, after 30 rings, it changes. And people they could go, why do you do that? If you're walking in the street, why do you ring that way? Suddenly you're, as Peter said, be prepared to give an answer for the hope that you have. I love it. So simple. Cassida, I will speak to Ricky in his next live stream about the Trinity. Yeah, ask him about it. I saw him once on a live stream speaking exactly about the Trinity, or Holy Trinity, and he was so wrong. That's the first time I was like, "Whoa, what's this guy saying?" That's when when you look on certain news, which I do. I was speaking again to someone about this the other day. So I got certain things like X, and I go onto and Facebook, that I look for supporting news from articles. I go and find out what people are thinking and things like that. And the algorithm will then start to send me loads of stuff. So when I was doing the Tommy Robinson March video, the Ricky Dooner stuff started coming on my Twitter feed all the time. And you have to then try to train it to get all this stuff off. I have got one social media thing, Instagram, where I don't use it for any of that. And all it sends me is stuff about motorbikes. And I'm never going to corrupt it. It's my happy place. I go there. No, I don't go on it all the time, actually. I probably haven't been on there for like a week or something now. But, every time I want to, I know that's a place I can go to, and I just get these videos about motorbikes. And I don't want to ruin the algorithm. Sorry, I struggle to tag on the phone. Oh, okay. So Zoe. Okay, cool. Francis, good evening. Sorry, late to this party tonight. No problem. It's better that you're here. Looking across, Russell and Valerie. Yes, it's the infamous one where several people have been fined enormous amounts. Oh, what was that? What was that? Was that I don't know what that was. I don't know how far I am. I'm out of context now. Sunshine Lazy, you've answered it great. Eventually, wow, am I that far behind? Right, I need to catch up. To a speed round. It's 9:40. How can this go so quickly? Right. Cassida, Tommy Thompson was seeing a pastor when he was in prison and came to Christ. He had trolleys of mail in his prison. 80% were from Christians, all praying for him. And that's great. But let's not hold one man up so high. Tommy Robinson is just like the rest of us, and we want each person to come to know Christ. It's great that he comes to know Christ. It does. It kind of gives it a bit of, because he's got a platform. But we've got to balance that. We do have to balance that, and I hope he would say that as well. Mr. Baker, Norwich has 2 impressive cathedrals, Anglican and Catholic. I like the Catholic one. Was designed to fill a gap in architectural styles, as it's an early English style. CV one's a late English. I've never been to Norwich. Maybe it's just a place I should go. Jacob K, a parachurch ministry I was going to volunteer for. Leader was really into Peter Enns, Rob Bell and Brian McLaren, and post-evangelical emergent church stuff. Really put me off wanting to work there. Exactly. That's good though. It's good that you know what they were about. So many people come into churches and they just don't know. They just think that every church is the same or thinks the same, and it's so dangerous. John Clark had to look at Lutheran satire. Enjoy it. JKK, there's an inclusive church near me, and many of folks there are so sensitive and shut down the moment you try and set theological boundaries. Again, it's not being so open. It's like, it's pray for them. Casida, our vicar said the same. It's not about the vicar and the church, it's about Jesus. John the Baptist's ministry dwindled. A lot of his disciples followed Jesus because he did a great job pointing them to him. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all about Jesus. Paul Wayfarer, is it okay to pray for the removal of unorthodox liberal priests from their roles? I think the first thing you do, yes, I would say. But firstly, pray for their conversion. Pray for them to come to preach the gospel. Because if God's placed them there, if they're in that church, and if they were Orthodox, it would be a great ministry. First, pray for them to repent and to come to preach and know the gospel and change their ways. Then if they don't, then they're damaging to people. They're leading people astray, and they should not be there. So I think I would have no problem if that was the case, that I was not preaching the gospel and I went down those ways. I know that sounds a bit strange, but if I think it's, again, going back to that accountability. If I was going off, I want people to come and tell me, because drift is slow and gradual. And being a leader in the church, you are influential over people, and so you don't want to get into that point. So I would want people for praying, and people do pray for me for my ministry, and probably to stay on track as well. So yeah, God wants people there, but if they're not preaching the gospel, I'm sure God doesn't want them there either. Psalm 125. As regards the gifts of the Spirit, there are counterfeit and genuine. Sadly, I forgot what IMHO is. The former peripherate. Yeah, that's the problem. I imagine IMHO, in my humble opinion. Yeah. In my humble opinion, the former peripherate. Yeah, it's all about discernment. It's all about discernment and going back to the Bible. And I think that should be not just celebrating things. I think sometimes I see it online. There's things that are put online that actually it's like, have you tested this against the Bible? Why are you writing this straight away? Why are you putting this online? You have to test this. Don't be, just saying that this is the truth. We should be wary of what we're saying and what's happening. Matt, maybe you could write a Substack about the journey. I've done a video about it. An old video, I think. Did I? Might have done right at the beginning. But I should do. I should write something. It's a crazy journey. It's inspiring. I'm glad God used me in that way. Because when you got good people seeing something in you which you might not see, it helps you to go forward. And it's been amazing, because my ministry has been such a blessing, and I really enjoyed it, even though it's been hard. The churches I've been in, I've only ever seen growth and people come. That's not because I'm Mr. Fantastic and look, I'm doing amazing things. I think God honors that, and I'm working with God. So how can it not go wrong, if you know what I mean? If I'm just trying to strive for His glory. So it's encouraging. I think it's encouraging. Han, welcome, Han. Thanks for the online live speaking, Rev Dan. Hope it's not too late to ask a question. No, it's not. We do. You can ask a question. I think I'll go off by 10, because we do. But I tell you what, before we go off at 10, because I haven't done this, I need to remember, hit that like button, because it really does help. It really does help. And thank you if you've had adverts, because that really does help as well. I know it can be annoying, but you are supporting my ministry. Matt, that's incredibly interesting and uplifting. I've been a Christian for about 4 years now and immediately felt called to chaplaincy. Yeah, well, truth be told, I felt a call 6 months after I became a Christian and I tested it. There's other things in there with other people, but I really seriously tested it. And with one guy I met, very experienced, bit DDO, archdeacon, and stuff like that. And he said, there's something there. You have to investigate this. Just keep pushing doors. And so after a year after I became a Christian, I started the journey. It was crazy. But God's in it, right? God's, if he wants, it will, doors will open. And if the doors close, I would say don't be disappointed. It might be something else. That's what I always said. If I don't become a vicar, I'm just trying to discern what God's called me for. He's called me for something. What is it? So I'm thinking it's ministry, and it ended up being ministry. Had it not, I would have been pushing every other door until I found what God's called me to do. And not being disappointed, because it's wherever we end is where God wants us, not where we think we should be. Billy's craft room. Rev Dan, do you have a view about the CFE Pilgrim course? No, I've never done it. We got a whole, in my church before I came, they've done it, and I've heard good things about it. Now, the people that wrote it have gone astray in their theology, but I think back then they were quite good. And I think it is, from what I've heard, it is a good course. I think it's a good course. I think people really engage. It's quite a long course if I remember what they said. But I can't say whether it is or isn't because I've never used it. But other people might have, and if you have, just say. Billy's craft room. Our church has a bell. It rings on the hour. You have to wind up, get someone to wind it up, because it slips. That's a job. Psalm 125. Dan, where did you do your theological training? Wycliffe Hall. My vicar trained at Wycliffe, but many are now trained in St. Mellitus. Yeah, I train at Wycliffe Hall, and I am all for. I am absolutely. I know a lot train at St. Mellitus, and I got nothing against St. Mellitus, but I think take time out. Mine was less than 2 years because I was over 32. If you're under 32, you get 3 years. If you're over 32, you get 2 years. It doesn't matter how long you've been a Christian. And I went to Wycliffe Hall, and you just have that time out. You're in a bubble, and then you go do your curacy, and that's where you practice everything. So you got the paperwork, the theory side, and then you got the practical side. St. Mellitus kind of do a hybrid thing, and you get out into the parish and you work in the parish alongside doing the thing. And that's a fine model, but everyone's doing that. And I think I would always say, go and do that. And you know what? The Catholics spend like 7 years at theological college, seminary, 7 years to studying and set aside. It's incredible, and we just rush through. So I went to Wycliffe Hall, but many are going to St. Mellitus. But if I was speaking to someone, I would say go to a theological college, absolutely, full time, move there. So I was close enough to Wycliffe Hall to actually travel every day. It wasn't far, about 18 miles. And my bishop said, no, you've got to move there. You have to move there. You have to go all in. And I'm so glad he did. I'm so glad I didn't stay where I lived. We went all in. As a family, this has taken my son out of school, my wife moving as well, changing jobs and things like that. So, yeah, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Karen, today the street preachers came to my church and shared what they do. Also, one of them gave the sermon on how Jesus is with us all in all the storms. And he is. That's cool. Cassida, our church bells in Trowbridge are amazing. It's good having church bells. It's good. Used to ring to say the service was on, calling people to church. Billy's Craftsman, Rev Dan, please can you tell me who is allowed to receive communion? Oh, well, it depends on the church, and it depends on the priest. Some churches will only say you can receive communion, and talk about in the Church of England here, if you've been confirmed. Some will say, no, you don't need to be confirmed, you just need to be baptized. And I know a vicar friend who will go, if someone comes up, I will give them communion. So it was hit and miss, to be honest, if you go into a church. And it's not always explained in the church. You know, if you've got visitors who can take communion, some people can go to church and just like, what's happening? I'm not quite sure. Am I allowed to go up and those things? I think we need to be aware of that. So who's allowed to receive Holy Communion? I think the rules, the actual rules might be that you have to be confirmed, but different churches will now do different things. If you're looking at that, or it might just be a question, but if you're looking at that, then I would just say, ask the vicar at the local church. Psalm 125, there's a lovely young Iranian couple in my church who are sharing about the atrocities happening in Iran and showed some videos. It is so harrowing to hear and see what is happening there. Yeah, I mean, like, and they're trying to shut it down. I've heard horrendous stories coming out of Iran. And again, we got to pray for them and for this regime to absolutely fall. Because it is just, it's all, you know, I know this is an ideology and stuff, but it's all power as well. And that's the thing about Jesus. You had the power and then let it out of him so he could live an ordinary way and show us. And we live so counterculturally, and now they're just killing people, shooting people, so many. And even if the other day they said 3,000, there's probably so many more that we just will know about. So yeah, definitely pray for Iran. Mr. Baker, my church has a peal of 8 bells, which is a relatively unusual for English Catholic Church. I may go back doing it. Do it. It's so technical. Wow. Yeah, do it. It's cool. Rev Dan's Church of Scotland only takes communion 3 times a year. I find it very strange. What are your views? Wow. You know, I got I'm an evangelical, and I was going to a church where we did it once a month, but now I'm in a church where we do it every week, and I don't see any problem with doing it every week. Listening to that book I keep going on about, you know, Catholics do it every day. So 3 times a year. Wow. Like, you know, communion is important. You go back to the Acts of the Apostles and, you know, there are 4 things and I forgot them. It's about fellowship, sharing the meal, praying for each other, and I think giving or something. I'll have to look at what they are. They said there's basically 4 things you must do, and one of them is communion. So to do it 3 times a year, that would be very limited. You know, I'm happy like if people did it once a month. I wonder I'm so used to doing it weekly, and I've been doing it weekly for a few years now. Got how long? Maybe 2-3 years. I don't know what it would feel like going back to do it once a month. Well, but to be on the electoral roll, you only have to receive communion 3 times a year in the Church of England. So, which is crazy. It's crazy. 3 times a year. You just turn up at 3 times a year. You can get on the electoral roll and then get elected to like the PCC and stuff because you've only turned up 3 times a year. And that's the standard. That's the bar. Come on. You want people on your PCC who have been there, you know, 48 times a year. At least we'll give you 4 weeks off for going on holiday. Crazy. Bluescraft, in the kindest way, has anyone seen the film Up? Squirrel. Doug the dog has a collar that allows his thought to become words. He gets distracted a lot, says Squirrel. Yeah, I've seen that. I remember that. Yes, John Clark, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write a comment. That's it. Han, thanks Dan for the reply. Spiritually encouraged by simple online videos. This simple mind tries to keep simple videos. That's the thing. Nick, quite fitting that you touched on the unity of the church. Today is the start of the Roman Catholic devotion called the Week of Prayer for Christian Unity. I remember that in my curacy. Week of Prayer for Christian Unity. We used to do that. Don't do it here because there's only one other church in the village, which is United Reformed Church, Methodist and United RUC. No, not RUC. I forgot what they're called, but yeah. So we don't get to do that. But Week of Christian Prayer, that was really nice to have different denominations, and what we'd do is go around each other's churches, and so you can see different ways of worshipping. It was nice. Mr. Baker, I was so near Walshingham Shrine this week, but my wife didn't want to go. I'll get back on my own. I think I've never been, but I got to go there. I got to go out there. How would an elder or older Christian ministry differentiate or diagnose someone who may be suffering from a mental psychological problem, from an actual sin issue, per se, certain disorders? Yeah, that was. Yeah. This is the hard one because we don't get taught these things as vicars when it comes to mental health, and it's really hard to handle. The other thing is, so in the Church of England, in every diocese there is an exorcist, which people go, oh, the Church of England, I thought it was only the Roman Catholic Church. No, we have an exorcist in every diocese, and they handle this. You speak to them, and most of the time it's not actual demonic activity, it is mental health disorder. And so you have to be careful with this because it is quite, demonic and mental health, and it could be a combination of both as well. It's having the right professional people. So the mental health psychological problem is doctors. Really get them to doctors and answering that question and getting them diagnosed, and also having a person who's more specialist, who has been trained in those. It's very hard. I couldn't discern. I might see that something wrong, but when you get to that level, it's good. So to get people who know that. So that's what my thing will be. If you're saying that there's something, then secular doctors diagnose, make sure not, and someone like an exorcist or whatever equivalent you might have for the demonic stuff, I would say. But different denominations are set up differently. Francis, and the CV used to have assistant curates who would serve their title in one parish and then undertake a second curacy before being installed as an incumbent in a third. Yeah, they got rid of 2 curacies and now only 1. And I think the church can suffer for that. My previous parish was like a second curacy. So that's the way they call it now. Like a second curacy is usually you go to a small church. You'll run it by yourself. You haven't got a trained incumbent, but it's usually a smaller church. And then you go on to a bigger church. But I still made mistakes and things like that. Looking back, probably not the right decision. So you do need time. You do need time to learn. There's so much. It goes back to what I said at the very start about my church warden saying, "Can you feel overwhelmed by all that you do?" And it's speaking from his point of view as well. He's realizing there's a lot. And my answer was, it's not just all you do, it's the amount of time over the years. Can you sustain it? Francis, now it seems to be one curacy followed by an incumbent role. Yeah. And some people go from one curacy to a big church. Yeah, I don't know. It's about experience, and experience brings trust as well. And if you don't get it right, it can damage your relationship in the church. Just because not because you're horrible, you just haven't got the experience and to be able to deal with situations. I'm old now. I'm in my 50th year. I was thinking about this. I'm 50 this year. Oh, it hurts. And I was thinking about the live stream actually. I forgot if my birthday's on a Monday. I'm like, should I have a party on the day before my birthday, which will be Remembrance Sunday, because my birthday always falls right Remembrance Sunday. Should we just have a party on my 50th? Would that be right? And but even though I'm old and I've got loads of experience working in the real world, in the secular world, you come into this role and it's completely learning new, and you just don't know a lot. You've got to learn stuff, and you can really mess up. You really can. Billy's Craft Food, thanks, Rev Dan, thanks for the answer in the question about communion. I asked also, as Bishop Kieran Dewar was also doing a stream today when he was doing a communion and said it was for anyone who wanted it. Oh, online? Yeah, that don't work. No, that don't work. We did that in COVID, it's spiritual communion and people can take it at home. It don't work like that. There's a whole theology of this. You can't do communion through the internet. I can't believe that you can do communion in the internet. I can't believe that it works that way. So, yeah, no, unless he does communion, they travel to his place and they take it. But yeah, no. And finishes, and I thought it was only if confirmed. Thanks. Oh, or was he doing a service? Am I getting this wrong? Was he doing a service and it was live streamed? It's Sunday, isn't it? He was doing a service and it's good. There's enough ultimately in the book when you're going through the liturgy. If you got all the liturgy there and you got the absolution, you got the confession, you're reading the creed, you're reading the first lesson and the gospel, and you're preaching and you've got the peace and all that. If someone's heart was strange, they came in and they didn't know Jesus, they just want to find out, and they've gone through all that and they're right with God, they've done the confession and all this, they've done the peace, they've put themselves at peace with people, and they felt like strangely warm, like John Wesley's heart, strangely warm, and they came up to communion rail. I wouldn't see why there would be a problem judging them at that time, because you don't know what God's working in their heart. And if they've been there the whole service and read all this stuff, then they should be right before God. And that's, that communion is between them and God, and we're acting in that role. Would you deny it at that point? Some people would, but I think you're safe enough in a way to, if they've come up, something is happening. But the other thing is, and we always do this, if you don't want to receive communion but receive a prayer blessing, please come up. And that allows people to come up to the rail and receive a prayer blessing, instead of just sitting there. You can see that I really like Bishop Kieran Dewar. I've seen him on the thing. I don't know any much about him, to be honest. John Clark, Catholics. When I say thing, the Tommy Robinson stuff. Catholic Christians need more people like you. Please keep up what you're doing. Thank you. Yeah. I might be taking that compliment when you speak to someone else. I'll take it anyway. Psalm 125. I am on my church's PCC, second time. Well done. We meet every other month. I'm also one of my church's area dean reps, which I really enjoy. Area deanery meetings are every 3 months. And that's really important at the moment, because we've got the voting for the General Synod. So you'll be voting for people to get on there. I won't. Someone asked me, will you go on General Synod? I won't. I said no, because I'm too well known and people wouldn't vote for me. It's better to get people who aren't. It's strange, but no, I wouldn't stand for the General Synod. Billy's Classroom. Rev Dan saw a wonderful documentary on Prime today. It's called The Gospel, Who Jesus Christ Is and What He Came to Show. It was a wonderful film, really inspiring and a great one for new Christians. I'll have a look on that after. Han, thanks for the question, Rev Dan. Was hearing even in church sermon early on the lunatic boy and the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Matthew, Mark, yeah. And his condition was frighteningly demonic. Yeah. Context: the preacher explained not all mental health problems are spiritual in nature, but for that particular case, it was a supernatural attack for the evil one. Yeah, and this is it's it's difficult now, especially with the rise of mental health problems in the country. Psalm 125. As regards mental health, I go to Cafe Church at St John's, West Ealing, which every Sunday has a service for those struggling with mental health and disabilities, including hidden disabilities. They are supported and welcome there, and signposted a service is necessary. Yeah, that's really good. I'm just thinking, because people nowadays can get overwhelmed by services and things like that. It's good to have the resources to have stuff like that. Cassidy, you're young, Rev Dan. I wish I was young. I'm getting older. I can't stop it. Psalm 125. Psalm 125. We've been going for 2 hours and 5 minutes now, so enjoying being here. Wow. Oh, wow. What's going on? I'm good at talking now. My wife is like, she's like, "You doing your live stream?" I'm like, "Yeah." Do you need to get anything ready? I'm like, "No, I just talk. I'm really good at talking." She's like, "Yeah, tell me about it." So, I think it's bedtime. Kath, the church I was in before we moved to communion online through the pandemic, it was actually fine, was done well, was not an Anglican or Church of Scotland there. And I think Anglican churches did it. You just did it for what was there at the time. And then everybody went, theologically, is this right? Is this right? And people went, no, you kind of have to be there. Billy's Craft Room question: is there an option to have a sip of water if you have allergies to red things? Can't risk grape juice or look like bubble wrap the next day. Oh, okay. Receiving in one kind is as receiving in both. So you don't need to receive anything else. If you have the bread, it's like receiving both. Then be the rules of the church. So I wouldn't do water. No, I wouldn't do water. I wouldn't even do grape juice. I would do wine, because that's what Jesus did. So, yeah, no, just take it in one kind. Just take it in one kind. John Clark, I'm 21 with 32 years experience, 23, 53. I have to add, make me work. Billy's Crafting, time flies when you're having fun. Thank you. Psalm 125, we're all talking here, lol. And, oh, no, sadly we have a, what do you call it? Russell and Valerie. I will learn that. I'll go get it tattooed. Sadly, we only have one bell. I'm going to have to bid you adieu, says Mr. Baker. Thanks, Rev Dan, and thanks all. And I think I'm going to have to do that as well. It's 10 past. It's 10 past. Well, this is amazing. If you're going to watch a movie tonight, decide to listen here instead. Thank you, Rev Dan. I'm so appreciative that you decided me over a Hollywood movie, the blockbuster. I need to get my hair cut, right? My hair's getting long. You see the greys. What was I going to say? No, I forgot. No, I was something about being on here for so long. Psalm 125, it's not right for the churches to close in the pandemic. We were told our Lord in Hebrews 10:25 not to neglect meeting or observing ourselves together. Yeah. We stayed open as much as we could, and we saw growth. It was amazing. So I'm looking down. I haven't looked at the camera, so I do apologise. I've looked everywhere, I think, except for the camera. It must be annoying. But anyway, I'll see you next week. Go get some great sleep, and I'll start watching the American football, because it's 13-21, but in the third quarter, so it's not over yet. I do appreciate it, as I said. Thank you for joining me, and I do appreciate that you've chosen to watch me and come together as a community instead of watching Tom. What's that actor called? Tom. I forgot his name. What's his name quickly before it goes? Tom who? Help me. Tom, famous, Top Gun, and all those things. What's he called? I'm waiting. Someone answer me. Tom, what's he called? Cruise. Oh, thank you. It's killing me. Tom Cruise. Ah, that just proves. Thank you. Everyone's coming through. Thank you for that. Choosing to watch me instead of Tom Cruise. That's great. And not even choosing to watch me, but coming together as a community, because that's what it's all about. So have a great night, and I'll see you next week. And stay strong and stay humble as well. If anything I learned from today's sermon. See you soon. Bye.